Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode. So we are continuing this video, like we are learning object-oriented programming. So how I learn faster with help of AI. So that is my perspective to show you, so you can learn faster. Yeah, so that is my reason. And so actually I'm watching object-oriented programming video. You can watch any video, and so but I just like nowadays I'm not reading any books because I think watching video and then you can read out from any AI tools. But here what I do, just I want to clear more, and I want to play with AI, and based on this video information, so what tutor explain, so I just grab it and then I paste on any AI tools. So here I just grab or copy, let's say 10 minutes. So in this episode, just I'm just read it out from uh, I think 1 hour 20 minutes to 1 hour I think 40. So 20 to 40 and then 40 to 60. So 40-minute video and video duration information I can grab within one prompt. That is, I paste already in Gemini and ChatGPT. So in this video, I'm gonna use Gemini and ChatGPT, but in this episode, I'm just using ChatGPT. So I already pasted it. You can see, 1 hour 43. Okay. So what tutor says, just we are going to read out, nothing else, right? And you can also play with this information, or you can ask particular question, and AI or any AI tools can explain to you and they can break it down. But if you want to know from that, based on that video information, like actually what the tutor try to explain, because every tutor has their own ability to explain, and the way they explain, the way they use analogy, that's gonna help. So you can put that analogy into AI, then you can understand better. Okay, that is the things I want to say. So in this way I can learn. So you can get a lot of perspective, a lot of analogy from different type of tutor. I think it makes sense to you. Okay, so now if you want to watch with me, so you can, or you can skip entire video. I'm not forced you to watch it, because my ultimate goal to give you the perspective how you can learn faster. So this is my series motive. So just I'm gonna read out all the things, and yeah. So on that, tutor says, in this lesson, I introduce the topic of object and how you work with object in Python. In this lesson, we are finally ready to define our own class and object. If you remember from lesson 1, I said to think of a class as a blueprint, and this still applies now, especially going forward. A class is a blueprint. Let's jump into this lesson, right? So yeah, so if I were to break it down, so as I mentioned, a class is like a blueprint, or it's a template for creating many objects. So on the left, which means that tutor shows the slide, so he refer on the left, I have a sketch or a picture of a house, and this sketch is our class. So here is like he explained there are two type of sketch. One is sketch, it's like kind of sketch, but second is it's a real picture. Okay, and so that is the tutor is same. So it contains a general overview of this type of object, or it contains a general information you need in order to make an object. On the right, we have a complete object, and this is what we created from the class using a description. So an object of a class. Now I want you to kind of remember from the last lesson. You remember this? T1 is equal to turtle. I want you to say that 10 times if need to. Get really annoyed by it. Okay, like this. So here I have my instance or my object. The value of an instance is my class. So now remember, a class is always capitalized. It is one of the very few things in Python you capitalize. a class is followed by a set of parentheses, capitalized parentheses. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at few more objects. So here we go. You remember from the first lesson, I introduced a class of bird. Well, let's take a look at a few more examples. As you can see below, these are all objects, or they are all animals, right? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter in English. All of these are animals. That is your class. So they all have additional properties or action of their own, right? So the owl is the outcast object. It is an object. It's an animal. It has its own name, has its own abilities, has its own properties, right? So next up, we have three land animals. Let's call them, and they share two type of them same properties. Each of these objects have four legs and a tail, but they each have their own properties, such as type of animal and location as well. How many objects do you have? Four. How many class do you have? One. Our class is animal. Our class is animal, right? Our objects are owl, raccoon, lion, and giraffe. Let's take a look at another. So there are all phones sharing some of the same properties. They all have some of the same properties and action of their own, but then they all have their own unique as well. Okay, so creating a class. Before we create any object like a raccoon, lion, we need to create a family. We need to create a family. We need to create a class. In this class, this is where we define all the unique properties and all the unique methods that our object will have. But first, we need to look at important function. This function is called a constructor function, but really it's called our constructor method, right? So what is a method? What is a method? This is a question, right? So a method is a function in a class. This is a special method is automatically run when an object is created. It creates an instance. It creates an object of a specific class. So this word constructor, what does it look like? Constructor looks like construction. What is construction? Build. So we use constructor method to build something, to build our class. This method is called init. Okay, so now you can really see init looks weird. You have never seen this before. You have never seen this before. It has to underscore in the beginning and after. So that's called a dunder method, right? That's called a dunder method. That's very important. We must use this as our constructor. So this is always the first method in our class. Init just means to initialize. Initialize just means to start, right? So every time we start our class or we create an object, we automatically use the init method. Creating our class example. We create our So we are finally here, right? We are starting to see some actual code come together. I'm going to break this down for us. If you need to rewatch any of these, please do, because this is very important topic, object-oriented programming. So on the left, we have all of our code. You can see that I'm starting at the top with my class. To define a class, we use a class keyword, and then we give it a unique name, just like a function. But the first letter is capitalized. Then all the code inside, just like code outside, you would make a function the same way. But this is the method. Why is it a method? Because it's a function in a class. So our first method is our constructor. It is taking two parameters, just like a function take parameters. These parameters are the value, two properties. At the end of our class, I make an object car. The value of an object is a class. My class in this example, right? Remember, T1 is equal to turtle. Well, my T1 is car, my turtle is my class. I'm giving many class two argument because init has two parameters. That is very important. I can then use my drive method. I can link it to my car object. If you're a little confused, don't worry. I'm gonna break this down even more. So self keyword. Before I do, but before I do, you see a new word on the screen. What's that new word? Boom! We see the word self. This is very important. We use that word self in a class. Now, self is basically a key. Okay, and it unlocks a class, so we can use all the properties and the method anywhere we want throughout the class. Self is a key. You must have it as a first parameter in any method, but it's important to note that you never use the word self outside of the class. Color coordination and summary. Let's do some color coordination now. Okay, here we are. Pause the video if you need to. Pause the video if you need to. Just use the color coordination to help you. So at the top of the screen, the first things I do is we create a basic class. I name it my class. Up next, the first method in our class is our constructor method. This is where you will define all the variables, all the properties you will use throughout your class. Each parameter is a value to one of the properties. Next up, we define a method named drive. This function uses the value from our two properties and gets the sum. So I have a variable x, and the value of x is our two properties added together. I can use my properties because I'm using the word self. Remember, self unlocks our variable and function to use them throughout the class. Finally, at the end of our code, I create an object named car, and then I give my two arguments to my class 50 and 60. 50 is a parameter 1, 60 is a parameter 2. So I then link my try method to my object, and this is how we call a method, because a method must be linked to an object. Alright, so when I call my drive method, the output in your terminal, I would say the speed is 110 km per hour. Okay, as you can see, I added on a little extra there, right? But because my two arguments are being passed off here, they are value to my parameters. I can then use my properties which I'm adding together here, and then I'm converting that integer to a string which is being printed out inside our terminal. Pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool, huh? Everything is starting to link together. This is good. And the second, okay, object. This is how you call a method, because a method must be linked to an object, right? Here you go. So when I call my try method, the output in our terminal would say the speed is 100 km per hour. Okay, so as you can see, I added a little extra there, but because my two arguments are being passed up here, they are the value to my parameter. I can then use my properties which I'm adding together here, and then I'm converting that into integer to string which is being printed out inside our terminal. Pretty cool, huh? Alright, let's take a look at another class. I want you guys to pause the video. I want you, yeah, I want you guys to pause the video, read through the class. Okay, I have two questions on the screen at the bottom. Try to answer those before I do. Try to answer those before I do. Alright, I have a class called app. You can see that's created at the top of my screen. Here is app. The first method is our constructor. I'm creating three parameters: user, storage, and username. For each parameter, I'm creating a property. And remember, the value of my property is my parameter. That's all in it. That's all. And init is doing, it's a place to create and store our variable we will we will use in the class. I have Then I have two methods. My first method is login, and this is just a normal condition. If user, if my property self user is equal to owner and self user is greater than 1, then I can print off welcome user. Your storage is amount. Okay, right here. What is it gonna print off? Think about that. What is it gonna print off? Think about for a second. Then I have a method called increase capacity. Increase capacity is its own method in my class. It takes one of its own parameters. I can use my property self.storage and I can add that parameter to it before I return self-storage. So were you able to answer my question? What is the name of my class and my object? Well, let's take a look. Let's take a look. Okay, our class is app. Our object, we have two, product one, product two. Remember, the value of an object is a class. Go find that. Now, my next question for you guys at the bottom of the screen, what are the values of my properties? Pause it, answer it. There you go. There you go. The value of my properties are my parameters, users, storage, and users. So self.storage is equal to storage. Next question, bottom of the screen. Where are the arguments that will be given to my class? Right there. These are the arguments. Remember, in order, it's very structured. User, storage, user. So write in that order. So write in that order. These are being given to my class. Wonderful. Okay, so here's a breakdown. I took that same class, right? While we are doing it, we are gonna top to bottom because that's how we design our blueprint. Remember, our class is like a blueprint. We design the blueprint before we create an object. Before we create the finished product, we create a class called app. Our method login has a condition which checks the properties against a set value. That set value is owner and the integer 1. We create a method called increase capacity. And what this does is increase the current value of an property self.storage. Then finally, once we made our blueprint or class, we can create an object called product 1 or product 2, and we can call the methods you want. So here's even a bit more. I kept a few of the hints from the last slide, but I have added a bit more in new ones. I have added. We set up our constructor with the properties we will use throughout this class. We have a method that increases the value. So then we have our product 2. What is this one output? What is this going to output? Well, let's take a look. If you haven't guessed yet, which your mind should be ticking, your wheel should be spinning. What will this be outputting? Let's start with our first object. Our first object was product 1, right? And product 1 is taking the argument 35, 256, and owner. Well, when I call login method, those are the first two lines. It's gonna say welcome owner, and it's gonna say your storage is 256. Then I also called the increase capacity method, and I gave it the argument of 50, which is being used as my parameter. It's gonna take my original storage, which was 256, and it's gonna add a number to it that update our storage to 360. So if I take my second object and I call the login method, it's gonna show login denied. Why? Well, my user is Josh. If user is equal to owner, do this. Otherwise, login denied. So my name was not owner, login was denied. Great, a lot of things happening, right? So go back to this, read over this, see what's really happening. Once we get to VS Code, it's going to start easy. But I'm gonna give you a few challenges, and it's going to get harder rather quickly. It's meant to challenge you. Uh, it's meant to help build you. It's meant to help build you that is strong object oriented foundation in Python. Before VS Code, let's take a quick flashback to what you are learning before object. Here you are. A class is a big group of methods. Each method contains various elements that you have already learned in Python, like conditional loops, lists, dictionaries, and more. So everything you see on my screen, you should feel fairly confident with. If you don't, I think you should stop now. You can go back to Turtle, because going back to Turtle, you will reinforces your understanding of object, but you can also reinforce and practice your understanding of the basic Python programming concept like conditional loops and function. A quick recap: a condition is really just if something is true, do this; otherwise, do something else. That's what a condition is. That's what a condition is. If this true, print hello. Also, if name is Josh, print it's me Josh. Everything else, print goodbye. That's how a condition is set up. A while loop literally translate to while something is true, keep repeating. If it's not true, stop. Right. So in my loop, while input 1 is 0, keep repeating. Every time I repeat, I'm gonna ask for a new input. I'm gonna check if my input is 0, it's gonna keep repeating. Our for loop, if I literally translate a for loop, which I do that for every time inside something, I wanna do something with that current item. Right, so I have list age 1 2 3 4 5 6. If I take my loop for every age in my list age, if that current age is less than or equal to 17, I'm gonna remove it. Right, so my loop is gonna go 30 to 33. Loop keeps going, gets to 50 to 50, 70, and that's true. It's gonna do something, right? So you should feel very comfortable with this. All right, let's jump in and check out some challenges. Do not go back. Okay, this is our first challenge in VS Code where we are building classes. This is a point where we should try to avoid going back from. I want you guys to try to recreate the code from the previous slide and use it as an example to build your own fast class in VS Code. Now that remember that this class has one base class and I called it app. Inside the app, we had three methods: init, login, increase capacity. Login checked if user was equal to 1. If it was, it print off welcome. Increase capacity allows us to add a number to the current storage. Finally, create two objects. Both of these objects call both methods. Head over to VS Code, give this challenge a try. I will see you guys there for the next few challenges. I'll see you in the VS Code. So I think this video is all about showing you how can I read it things, and yeah, then you can copy paste, and then you can paste into other tab and ask a question based on what you want to learn. And yeah, so thank you so much watching.